chainsaw blade length. So this, for the first time, I ran my brother's chainsaw, which has a 24-inch bar on it. And I did notice I wasn't bending over as much, so that was a positive. It's not a light saw, but neither is my the old one that I ran for years. That has a 20-inch blade, so, or bar. And the measurement, I was wondering about this too. So the measurement seems to start right here and out. So 20 inches from right here, about the edge of the dog here, out to there, and then 24 inch here. Now, the pros is you don't have to bend over as far if you're cutting stuff on the ground or propped up a little bit, but not that much. It is handy. I can see that. It is more bar sticking out and chain going around, so you have to be careful anyways. And the chainsaw runs really well, so that was another positive. So if you contrast that to the 36-inch bar, that was a real, that I would not want to run much, because it's just so long. It adds so much weight to the end. But if you have a tree that you're trying to get through, like this one right here, you know, there was times this is the only way to cut it if you wanted a nice slice. If you contrast this to this short bar, which, gosh, is it even 12 inch? Looks like a 13-inch bar. So, I mean, obviously this is handy for cutting limbs and stuff like that, so that's the way to go. So the bottom line is, I think if you have multiple saws, you know, you can have different length of bars, and you're not, like, I would not want to run this long one all the time. There's times I want to run this one, or I have one that's in between here. I have one that's probably a 16-inch bar. Very handy. A little bit bigger saw. So your saw is rated for certain size bars, and you don't want to go above that. But there is usually a couple bar sizes for your saw. So in my case, you know, fortunately, this is my brother's saw, so that one's not going to be around. But the debate was, do I want to buy a 24-inch bar that I could put on that saw once in a while, or one of the other saws? So still thinking about it. I can see where it is very handy in some situations, and if you're cutting really big trees, yes, for sure, handy. But I will say, this is the size bar I've ran for, oh my gosh, 20 years, more than 20 years, and there was very few trees I couldn't cut down and cut up. So this is really the first. And I cut one this big before. Well, no, it wasn't this big, but it was huge. But it was hollow in the middle, so, you know, this chainsaw did it. A little nerve-wracking because it was such a big tree, and I never cut one that big before, but it did go down. Okay, so it really depends on what you're cutting, your chainsaw size, and if you have multiple, then you have a better opportunity to have different sizes. But do you really need them? Good question. Okay, but it did cut really well, and I did not bend over as much, so my back kept my back straighter.